Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing The Green Death, which is one of the most highly renowned Doctor Who episodes and is one of my personal favourites. The premise of the story is fantastic with stellar direction and the plot is very easy to understand. I think what lets this story down is the pacing at the start and also some of the chroma key green screen work, but apart from that, this story is solid. When a man is found dead with his skin glowing green in an abandoned mine, it's not long before the Doctor, Jo and Unit head to Wales to investigate. And while the Doctor becomes suspicious of the nearby global chemicals factory and its mysterious owner, Jo gets trapped underground, where she finds old mine tunnels crawling with deadly and sinister giant maggots. Starting off with the third Doctor, he is splendid as always, and steals every scene. And you can't forget that fantastic milkman scene.
Something he ate, his mam said.
Who are you then?
I'm his da. They told me I was too old to take over, they did, but I've been doing this milk round 53 years, wet off.
This is also the ideal story because it's Jo Grant's last story, and it has such a heart-wrenching scene at the end when the Doctor says goodbye to Jo, and obviously she gets married and goes off with the Professor Jones, and they go to the Amazon forest. I feel like in this story she has so much character development, and it's great for her character to end on a high. We also have Professor Jones, who is just one of the side background characters, obviously introduced because of Jo Grant, and you gotta love him, haven't you?
God, life's good, isn't it?
God, he almost blew the microphone then. Next we have Unit and the Brigadier, who appear quite regularly in the Jon Pertwee era, and for all of the stories they're in, they really have a lot of dialogue and action-packed scenes, and I think they really bring the plot together, and as always, they are extravagant in this story. I absolutely love the Brigadier and his dynamic with the Doctor. We have the main villain, apart from the maggots, which is Boss, who is the Great Intelligence, who I absolutely love, and he is very patronising and threatening in this story. I think as a villain he is fantastic. Now he doesn't actually have any appearances because obviously he's a generated computer, but it's still great, and his voice is yet very sinister. Next we have the maggots, which are a key element to this story, but unfortunately they do appear more subtly towards the end, and I think Boss becomes the main villain and the main attraction of this story, and I think the maggots are a bit lost at that point, and it could have been a bit more expanded on, but still, for the runtime that they get on this episode, it is fantastic. I love how they have the fangs and prongs, and to have maggots in a Doctor Who story is genius, and it's quintessential. As I said earlier, the start has a bit of a pacing problem when the men are talking about the global chemicals, but once the ground gets running and we see all the elements in a key Doctor Who story like Jo Grant, Jon Pertwee, the maggots, Unit, it really starts to get going, and I think all of those elements really push the plot to the next level, and it's very enjoyable, and I absolutely love this story. And something about Jon Pertwee doing all that action and Venusian Aikido, it's just very entertaining to watch, and it has quite a comedy element to it, when Jon Pertwee is the milkman and then he's dressed up as that old cleaning lady. It's just hilarious when he says, "Do you like my handbag?" And we've also got Boss, who is a bit silly at times, but I think that really adds to it and makes the story a lot more enjoyable. And it has such a good premise. It's executed fantastically. An action-packed, stellar episode of Doctor Who. It is absolutely quintessential Pertwee, and I absolutely love the maggots. This is my favourite companion exit out of all of the ones I've seen, and this story is a masterpiece. It's anything you'd want in a perfect Doctor Who story. There are elements that let it down, like the pacing, but that gets going eventually. Unfortunately, Cliff and Jo's relationship does steal the show in parts, and I think it could have been focused on a bit less. Also, the green screen work does sort of let this story down and doesn't do it justice. I think for the time it's alright. You know, you can't blame them because they were only experimenting with what they could do at the time. Some of the green screen work was a bit lazy, like in the caves when they had the wall of maggots and the Joe and the Doctor were steering the boat. But to be honest, it doesn't honestly matter because nothing's perfect in life, and this is probably the best you're going to get. It's 6 parts. I absolutely love it. I'd recommend it to anyone. It's such a masterpiece of a story. I absolutely love this one, like I keep saying, and I definitely recommend anyone to watch it. So I hope you have all enjoyed. Subscribe, and I will see you in another video soon. Goodbye for now.